I saw this story today about how Marvel is laying off some of their staff members, and you might look at this and see like, well, 15 staff members, that's not so bad because that's a huge company, right? Well, I was curious about that myself, so I decided to see what I can find about how big Marvel Entertainment actually is. And this is the closest I can find on their LinkedIn page, their official one right here. And it says they employ around 201 to 500 employees. So 15 staff members is around 3 to 7% roughly of their workforce. So obviously not a sizable amount, but still you got to think if they were hiring more people, that would presumably be a good thing for the company because that means they're expanding and things are going well for them. So if they're laying off people, the best case scenario you could say is it's not necessarily a bad thing because companies lay off people all the time. But this could be an indicator that things aren't going too good for Marvel Entertainment. But let's look at this article from Variety that kind of goes into a little bit more details. Marvel laid off 15 staffers on Monday, including lower level production and development employees in Marvel Studios in Burbank, as well as employees in Marvel Entertainment division in New York. And the reason I went to the LinkedIn for Marvel Entertainment, because Marvel Studios, as far as I know, kind of falls underneath that. So if you just look at Marvel Entertainment, this includes all of Marvel Entertainment, which is also Marvel Studios. So it's between those two. It would be around 200 to 500 employees. At least that's the impression I'm getting. I could be wrong. So the significance of 15 staff members being laid off could be reduced from this, but still my initial point remains that them laying off people is best case scenario for them. It's just not a bad thing. Worst case scenario is it's an indicator that things aren't going well for the company. The layoffs were predicated by the overall reduction in Marvel's slate of film and TV titles after the challenges of the 2023 releases led the company to reassess the rapid increase in productions to feed the launch of Disney+. They had other challenges in 2023 too, besides just the sheer volume of stuff that they're releasing. Looking at the theatrical releases, everything from the Marvel Cinematic Universe lost money at the box office except for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But even then, they spent so much money making that one, it was only a moderate success for them. Also in the same year, the Marvels came out and that was such a monumental flop for them. It was actually one of the biggest box office bombs in Disney history. Not to mention there was also the writers and actor strikes going on throughout the summer and most of the fall, which caused a delay in a lot of other releases. This article goes on to say, though, they're also meant to address Disney's decision in March 2023 to absorb the Marvel Entertainment banner, which had operated as an independent unit, into other divisions of the company, which created redundant positions. And that's not something necessarily unusual for a company the size of Disney, but you got to think if they're going to absorb Marvel Entertainment into other divisions of the company, then that usually indicates that Marvel Entertainment by itself is not standing up on its own. But again, this is just me speculating. Best case scenario, though, it's not a terrible thing for them, but worst case scenario is it's an indicator that there are bad things going on there. The latter decision had already led to the dismissal of Ike Perlmutter from his position as chairman of Marvel Entertainment. And I think it's important to point out that Ike Perlmutter was in charge of Marvel Entertainment during phase 1 and 2 of the MCU, you know, the best eras of the MCU. But then he started butting heads with Kevin Feige over Kevin Feige's insistence on shoehorning in diversity and other things like that into it. He went around Ike Perlmutter and went straight to Bob Iger, who backed Kevin Feige. So since then, they're trying to get rid of Ike Perlmutter, which they eventually did. And that's why this article points out that Ike Perlmutter was backing Nelson Peltz's effort to take over, or at least take over a board seat from some of Bob Iger's people, which is why Bob Iger was fighting so hard to keep that from happening. And he ultimately won out on that one. So good on Bob Iger for that one. But that also means everything happening with Disney moving forward for the next year is entirely on Bob Iger. So if it fails, it's entirely Bob Iger's fault. In the February earnings call, Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger unveiled a strategic initiative to recalibrate the studio's production slate. The move responds to various industry challenges with an eye on elevating the quality of the company's cinematic offerings. And it's funny that he's actually admitting as much right now, because he's basically saying that they understand in the past they've been focusing more on the quantity as opposed to the quality. But he's saying, like, yeah, we know we weren't doing good in the past. We were just trying to put out as much stuff as possible. But we swear we're going to be focusing more on the quality moving forward. And that's something that he would have never admitted to back when they're actually producing these movies. But after they've long flopped, then he feels comfortable saying like, okay, yes, those were bad, but the next ones are going to be good, which I kind of doubt that, but there are indicators that they are trying to actually do better moving forward. I just don't think they're going to follow through with that. And the reason I think that is because I'm looking at the upcoming release schedule for them, and it doesn't seem like they're just trying to reduce the amount of output, because it is fair to point out the only movie they have coming out this year is Deadpool and Wolverine. And yes, that one looks like it could actually be decent. But then when you look at after this year, you see in 2025, you have Captain America, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Blade. And this doesn't seem like something the company would be doing if they're trying to reduce the output. And it's kind of like I said before, there was the strikes going on last year, which caused a ripple effect that delayed a bunch of movie releases. So I'm thinking they're not reducing the amount of movies they're releasing this year because of any desire to try to focus on quality first. It seems like they're just trying to capitalize on a bad situation. The strikes caused a lot of their productions to get delayed. So they're trying to say like, yeah, we did this intentionally. They're putting their own positive spin on this. And to be 100% fair to them, there is some good that I think they're trying to do with this, because we heard about the upcoming Daredevil Born Again, that they got that delayed, but they looked at the footage of it and they saw like the first half of the season were like, oh, this is crap. Let's just scrap everything and start over, or essentially just start over, bring in a new set of writers, new showrunner for it. So I think there is something that they're trying to make with this. I just don't have confidence that they can actually follow through with it. And recently Anthony Mackie came out and said with Captain America, Brave New World, that got delayed around 7 months because of the strikes. And since then they're brought in a new writer for that movie. And I guess they're doing extensive reshoots on that. I don't know how extensive. Like I said, it's delayed 7 months. I don't think they're going to do 7 months of reshoots, but the principal photography was done for that. And it looks like they're actually spending several more months shooting. So enough time to actually reshoot a whole movie. I don't necessarily think that's what they're doing, but they very well could be doing that. So I think with the strikes causing a bunch of delays, they look back at what they had in the can and they saw like, okay, this isn't very good. So let's try to make something that works. But the whole reduce the output, the focus on quality over quantity. No, I think they're just trying to blow smoke in order to put a positive spin on a bad situation. And you're going to get some movies that are probably going to do decent, like Deadpool and Wolverine, for instance, because people like Deadpool. Even though he's in the MCU, it looks like it's still going to be the same style of Deadpool, and people want to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine again. But after that, there's really not a ton that they have released that's really excites me. And I think that's the same with a lot of other people right now. And I've said this before, the MCU is in serious trouble right now in order to try to bring back fans. Anthony Mackie was saying with Captain America, Brave New World, that it's going to be kind of like a sort of reset with the MCU in order to try to return to form. And maybe that is a sincere attempt on their part, but I think they've spent too much time alienating the existing fan base and trying to turn them away in order to try to bring in a new fan base to them. And I don't think they've actually brought enough people back, which is why they're trying to almost try to appease the old fans that have since long left. But that's the thing. When people have left, they're gone. And I don't think there's really any bringing them back. So the best case scenario for the MCU, as I think they're just going to try to reduce the budgets of their upcoming movies. Like Blade, for instance, is the first movie that they have that's going to be less than $100 million. And I think we're going to start seeing that with some of their more movies where they're going to try to spend less on them in order to mitigate their losses. But eventually it's just going to kind of peter out. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest in entertainment news. And don't forget to hit the like button and share the video with your friends, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.